Hello, viewers. Welcome back to our channel, Smart Data Learners by datascientist.ca, a project of datascientist.ca. So, viewers, today we will be bringing a new project. And in this project, basically, that is the goal of this project is to enhance the data literacy as well as we will be exploring relational database concepts. So let's begin. It's a that's a complete RDBMS tutorial using MS Access forms and reports. So RDMS means Relational Database Management System, and uh, the target audience are IT or database learners. Database platform is Microsoft Access .accdb. Learning focus. Learning focus is a relational database design, queries, forms, reports, and end-to-end application flow. Introduction. This tutorial is based on the provided MS Access database file and is designed to help IT and database learners understand how a relational database RDBMS is implemented in a real working application. The database demonstrates how table relationships, queries, forms, and reports work together to support business operations. By the end of this tutorial, learners will understand how an Access database acts as a data storage layer (RDBMS) or Relational Database Management System, business logic layer with queries, presentation layer, forms, and reports. Number two, database architecture overview. 2.1, relational database concepts used tables as entities, primary keys for unique identification, foreign keys for relational relationships, one-to-many relations, referential integrity. We will explore this topic, referential integrity, when we will be working on this project and we will show you a completed project. Normalized data structure. 2.2, logical layers. Data layer tables, logic layers queries, application layer forms, reporting layer reports. Tables, data layer. 3.1, understanding tables. Each table represents a real world entity, for example, customers, transactions, products, users, etc. Tables are designed to minimize redundancy and ensure data consistency. Primary keys. Every table contains a primary key, typically an auto number or unique identifier. Ensures each record is uniquely identifiable. 3.3, foreign keys. Used to link related table, enforce relationships between parent and child tables. We will explore this topic when we will go through a completed project, and as well as when we will be completing a new project from scratch. Relationships. 3.4, one to many relationships are enforced using referential integrity. Cascading updating ensures data consistency. Queries, business logic. Purpose of queries are used to retrieve Filtered data, perform calculations, join multiple tables, serve as a data source for forms and reports. Types of queries. Select queries, parameter queries, aggregate group by queries, calculated field queries. 4.3 example cases. Fetching records based on user input, summarizing data for reports, validating data before display. Forms and application layer. Purpose of forms provide a user-friendly interface for interacting with database without exposing tables directly. 5.2 main forms: data entry forms, edit update forms, search and navigation forms. Subforms used for one-to-many relationships, display child records related to a selected parent record. Controls used. Controls are basically used to input data, and here we are using text boxes, combo boxes, lookup values, command buttons, calculated fields, etc. Form logic, validation rules, required fields, event-based logic, on-click, on-load, etc. Reporting reporting layer. Purpose of reports. Reports are designed for printing, PDF export, business reviews, management summaries. Report structures. Report header, page header, detail section, group header and footer, report footer. Common report features: grouping and sorting, calculated totals, conditional formatting, query driven data sources, end-to-end data flow. User enters data via forms, data is stored in tables, queries process and filtered data, reports present finalized information. This demonstrates a database application lifecycle. Best practices demonstrated: separation of data and interface, normalized table design, reusable queries, secure user interaction through forms, scalable reporting structure. Real world relevance. This database structure mirrors real world systems such as ERP systems, inventory management, operational reporting tools, small to mid-size databases. Learning outcomes. After completing this tutorial, learners will be able to design relational tables, create meaningful queries, build professional forms, general structured reports, understand full RDBMS application flow, relational database application flow. So viewers, after that we will go through, in the next session we will go through a completed project, and then once we review the completed project, we will then create the same project from scratch. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next session. Hello viewers, welcome back. In this session, we will go through a completed application uh, in relational databases as we explore this topic in our session one. So let's begin. First of all, we will, as we mentioned in our session one, RDBMS concepts used. So here we will show you the tables as entities, their primary keys, foreign keys, their relationships, referential integrity, and normalized data structures. So let's begin. Here we have these. This database is about books store database where they buy books from different suppliers, then they sell books to retail customers, or they basically have their model is that they are a store and they have a retail customers. So let's go through the tables used in this bookstore database. Number one is books table. So in this books table, you see we have a book ID, title, author, course, ISBN, retail price. The second table we have is we'll go through the books transactions. In the books transactions, basically when we buy or sell books, these are stored in books transactions table. So in the books transactions table, we have a transaction detail ID, book ID, transaction type ID, quantity sold, purchase price, master transaction, business. Uh, uh, these are the transaction dates, supplier or customer ID. Okay, so this is the table for the transaction books transactions. The next one is business entity. So basically, viewers, business entities are there are four types of business. There are some business entities mentioned here. For example, ABC Books, XYZ Books. These are their suppliers. Unique Books. These are also their suppliers, and then they have a retail customers, which is a type 3, right? So these are all person business type ID. So business type would be supplier, customer, or retail customer. So suppliers, you see, suppliers are ABC customers, XYZ Books, Unique Books. Customers are retail customers. These are only, so their model is either they have suppliers or they have retail customers. Then we have a course database which shows the course name, English, math, top, biology, French, statistics. Then we have the master transaction. So basically, viewers, this is master transaction is a very important table. Whenever we create a business books transaction, we need to have a master transaction. We'll go through that, but we'll show you that these are the kind of tables we have right now. In the master transaction, we basically store transaction ID, the date this transaction took place, and supplier or customer ID. So these transaction, master transaction could be either a supplier type, like we purchased, or we sold things, books. So, for example, if it's a transaction type 1, which means it's a purchases, or let's see, we'll go through these in the next table. So these are the type of transactions, and this is the transaction type. So transaction type is sale or purchase. So master transaction could be as one is sale and second is purchases. So there are transaction IDs, and then there are type of the transactions. So basically, viewers, these are the tables we have. These are the transaction types. And now we will go through the database design, and we'll explain what are these tables, how these tables work together to support the business process. So let's go there. In the database tools, we'll look at the all of these tables we just gone through. So we are beginning with the course. So, there are courses like we need there's a course ID, course name. Like as we mentioned, these courses could be statistics, mathematics, French, English language. Then we have the books table, which is directly linked with the course. Whenever we have a books in our store that must belong to a course, we cannot have a books which does not belong to any course, right? So, for example, if we have a introduction, for example, we have a books like Introduction to Computers, so it will be uh, related to course on computers, right? So, so there's one to many. For example, one course could have many books. Like for example, computer introduction to computer course could have many different kind of books in the books table, right? So when we conduct a books transaction, we need to have books in our store. Otherwise, we cannot make a book transaction. Like this, that's the main crux of the entity relationships and relational databases. So we cannot create any transaction without having uh, its corresponding uh, records in the main table. For example, if we are selling the books, we should have a book in our books database. We cannot just in this, like for example, in the spreadsheet, we can just enter any book and sell that. But in the database, in the relational databases, we need to have that book in order to make a book transaction. And in order to have a book, we need to have a course table, right? So everything relates each other. So when we create a books transaction must one book transaction must relate to a master transaction. Means one master transaction, whenever we are doing a business, we will generate a transaction which will be a master transaction, and that master transaction will store the information like transaction date, whether this transaction is a supplier or a customer ID, and then transaction type. What transaction this is that a sale or a purchase? And then it's has one master transaction could have many business books transactions. For example, if it's a purchase, one purchase could have one master purchase transaction could have many books in books transaction. For example, we place an order, and in the order we will put the date, supplier name, and in the type is purchase, and in the details we will mention what kind of books we are ordering, so that these are the books transaction details. We'll go through in the next session when we will go through the forms and reports. So now one to many relation, one transaction could have many books transactions, right? And then in order to creating a master transaction, we need to have a business entity, right? We need to have a database of uh, our suppliers, right? So we need to have suppliers in order to create a master transaction. If we don't have any suppliers in our database, we cannot just create a master transaction. And in the business entity, we will record a supplier or customer. But in this model, we have suppliers in our business entity database. Supplier could be uh, supplier have a name, contact person, phone, and type. Type is like a supplier, right? We'll show you in the tables. And one business entity must also be denoted what type of this business entity is. For example, it's a supplier or a seller or a customer. So in this, and then it has a one-to-many relationship. So one business entity type could have many business entities. For example, for example, in the purchaser, if it's a purchaser type or it's a supplier, then it could have many suppliers, right? And one supplier could have many master transactions, and one master transaction could have many books transactions, which will get the data from the books and the courses. And master transaction must also have the information related transaction types. Transaction type, whether it's a master transaction is a sale or a purchase. So viewers, this is a referential integrity system. Uh, that is the basically the main reason why relational databases exists, because they have the relational referential integrity. So that logic basically uh, removes the errors in uh, in the in the databases. Any So it enforces the uh, basically data security, data integrity, and any so there should not be any errors. Like, for example, in the spreadsheet, anybody can delete the record and enter the record, but in the relational databases, There should be strong. There's some referential integrity mechanism under that, which which enforce security. So viewers, let's go through the tables again and show you what all this logic means, referential integrity. Again, we will go through all the tables. We'll just uh, review in the beginning. So course table, course is here. Courses are stored here. Statistics, English, math, biology, French, stat. Okay. And then we have a books. You see, if we go to the books table, title. So there you see there is a course ID. These are not course name, but we have a course ID, and we can see that there is ISBN number, opening stock, and retail. Then we have a books transactions table, which has all these information about transaction type, sold, purchases, master transaction. And then there is a master transaction. Will master transaction, you see, it has a date and supplier, or whether it's a supplier or a customer, and then it also enters transaction type. It's a sale or a purchase. Then we'll go to the business entities. So these are the business entities are, for example, books are like these are type 1, means they are suppliers, and these are retail customers are type 3, like they are just buy the books, they buy books. And that's how. And then we have the business entity underscore type and transaction underscore type. So we hope that that makes sense. We will when we will start creating the project, it will make more sense. And let's go through the now main uh, forms, how this data is entered. So it's basically we have this book ID, introduction to mathematics. Whenever we want, when we buy the new book, we will enter here author name, course, ISBN. For example, we are buying a new book. Title is Poetry, Introduction to Poetry. Author is, for example, any let's say ABC, or for example James, a poet. Course could be English. ISBN, we can put any number. Example Opening stock, we have, for example, we have when uh, we are recording this data. So we have at that time, we in our store we already have these two books already in our stock. Retail price, we can just say $10. Okay. So if we go to the books transactions, books table database, introduction to poetry has been entered, right? Opening stock is two, and these books. And now we'll now make a transaction to, for example, we purchase more books, right? For example, we want to purchase some books, and we can, for example, create a new transaction, and in the new transaction, we will give a date of today's date, and business entity, we will say, you see, we mentioned that business entity could be uh, suppliers which are type 1 and retail customers are type 3. So, for example, we are buying some books, and this is a purchase, and book we are buying is because, again, we need to have books in our database which we are going to buy. We cannot just enter a new book. We have to first enter in the books database what books we have in our store, and then we can use this books database into our books transactions purchases. For example, we have a introduction to poetry we just entered today. We have stock also we mentioned. So we are buying, for example, three books. Purchase price is $5. That is today's date, and these records are automatically entered. We don't need to show these, but for the training purposes, we are showing these because just to show that how master detailed transaction forms work together. So when we entered the books, ABC books, so business entity ID is mentioned here. When we entered the purchases are two, type 2. So these are automatically gone into the books transaction from the master transaction, right? So in the next session, when we'll create the project, we will further show you how we have done this. But for this reason, just is enough for that, that we have entered all this information. And now, for example, we want another one more book we want from ABC, because right now this transaction belongs to ABC. We are buying another book, Computers and Introduction. We bought, for example, four books, and the purchase price is, let's say, $6, and so on. Now, this master transaction has been completed. We can now go to the new transaction, but we will close this form. And for example, we are selling also. This is a sales, master transaction sales. And here we are selling, we're creating a new transaction. For example, today's date on 20th of January, we are selling to retail customers. Remember, I mentioned that they have a business logic where they have customers, retail customers or suppliers. So we're selling these, and there's that is sales transaction, and we're selling a introduction to poetry, right? And we are selling quantities. For example, five. For example, we're selling three books, right? And and the same retail customer also bought some computers, introduction, four books. Customer ID is okay. So now we'll go for. So let's see in our all this data is stored in our database. If we look at the books transactions, we can see, but we cannot see what's going on here. So in order to see that, we have to go to the inventory, which shows, which will give us all the complete details. You see on the 20th of January, under the master transaction 14 and transaction detail 22, we purchased three books of introduction to poetry. So we have the balance. We opening stock. We mentioned we entered two. So when we bought these three books, our balance became five. And when we in the master transaction 15 on the January 20th, 26, this book is sold. Three books we sold. So balance became 5 minus 3, 2. And to whom we sold on this date? Retail customer. So that is how this transaction is completed. So we will this in this next session we will go through. In this session we have shown you the database and its working. And in the next session we will start creating a project. This project. Okay. So see you in the next session. Thank you. Okay, viewers, welcome back again to our the project we are working, Microsoft Access Database, Relational Databases Understanding. So now we will start creating this project. As mentioned earlier, first we will work on the uh, data layer, tables. So we'll start creating the tables. So let's begin. So first we will create a table named as books. It will be a book ID. We'll go to the design view and give it a name books. And the first one is book ID. That will be an auto number. As mentioned earlier, it's a key, the primary key. Then we need a book title, short text, author, and then see it's a course, cours, a course, ISBN, and then opening stock, number, retail price, that will be currency, so books table is created. Now we will go for the books transaction. Books transaction, and in the books transaction, first number one will be year underscore detail underscore ID, transaction detail ID, and then it will be a book ID, transaction underscore typ type ID. You see, that is basically storing the facts or mayors or numeric values, and most of these are fields are like foreign keys to relating to the uh, tables. Quantity sold underscore purchase, that will be number, purchase price, purchase price would be currency, and then we need a master master transaction underscore ID, that will be number, BUSA, business, entity underscore ID, that will be a number, because these are all foreign keys. Transaction date, that will be a date or time, supplier or customer ID, supplier or customer, customer ID, that will be number, and we will save that table. The next would be the create a table, then design, that will be business entity, business entity, web business entity, and that contains, so business entity would be either supplier or customer, customer, and then it will give name ID, and that will be a primary key, and then person underscore name, that will be a person underscore name, short contact person, person, phone number, we can give it a, right now we'll leave it as a, yeah, we can give it a input mask like text. Okay, so phone is here. Now will person underscore type. So person underscore type will be numeric because this is also a foreign key. And we'll save this table. Now we need to create a business entity type. This is a business entity, and now we have to create a business entity type. Business business entity underscore type, and that will be business entity type underscore ID, ID, and then we need a business underscore TYPE type. Then we will have a course table, design, course, that will be course ID, and then course name, course name. And then we need a master transaction, create, design, master transaction ID, master transaction ID, it's auto number, master transaction date, date, supplier or customer ID, ID, that will be numeric, and then transaction underscore TYPE type, that will be numeric. So viewers, once we will join these together in a database relations, that will all make sense. And course name, then master transaction, now we need a transaction underscore type, create new table, then design, master, then transaction underscore TYPE type, and that's the transaction type underscore ID, ID, and transaction type underscore name. name. Okay, viewers, we have completed these tables, and so now viewers, we will do another step. We'll close this table, and we'll create a relationship diagram, right? So in the relationship diagram, we will include all these tables. Now, as our diagram we have gone through, first we need to have course in our database for which we are buying the books, right? So we'll put the table here, and then this ID will go here. Enforce referential integrity means we cannot enter a book unless there is a corresponding course belongs to the book we are adding. So we'll okay. Let's see what happened. You see, the course is course ID, which is a primary key. That should be a numeric. This should be a number field because this is a foreign key. So now we can join that. Course ID and enforce a referential integrity. So see, we have now, whenever we enter a book, we need to have a course, corresponding course in that. Now the books, after that we can, once we have books, we can either sell these or purchase new books. For that reason, we need to have a book transaction and their relationship between these two, and create a referential integrity. Okay. So for every course, there could be many books. For every book, there could be many transactions. And for each transaction, there will be at least one master transaction, and one master transaction could have many books transaction. So we can relate this to master transaction underscore ID. So we will create a referential integrity. So referential integrity, or whatever it is, it means that master for any books transaction to be create if we need to create a books transaction, first we need to create a master transaction. Master transaction is, in other words, is the order, purchase order or sales order, right? Once we enter a purchase order, like it's a order number, order date, customer or supplier, if it's a purchase, and the transaction type, and then it will be related to the further, if it's a purchase order, then this transaction will be a purchase transaction, and this purchase transaction could have books and that which belongs to some courses. And one master transaction could be, it must have a business entity, right? So that will be a business entity, will be a supplier or a customer. So that must be relating to a supplier or customer ID. So we'll enforce a referential integrity here between these two tables, means that one business entity, like one supplier, could have many master transactions and so on. And then business entity could be either purchaser or a seller, right? Business entity could be a purchaser or a seller. Let's see what's the business entity type. Yeah, it could be this person should be, what type of person is business entity. So we can give it, relate it to the, create a referential integrity. So if we don't know what business entity is that either purchaser or a seller or a retail seller, we cannot create a business entity, right? So we have to define that ABC books are a supplier or is a retail, then or otherwise we have a retail customer, right? And one master transaction could be either for sale or a purchase. So transaction type should be sale or a purchase. So we have to transaction type to transaction type ID, and we will create a referential integrity. Create that. So here we have enforced the referential integrity, and now we will work on forms. Because forms are used for data entry, so we need to create some forms to enter the data. And first we will create a books form, and in the forms we can use a form wizard, and in the forms wizard we will use the books table, and we select all the fields, and that should be a columnar, like because we are, each books will have a one page. So this form has been created. You see, in this form we will design it, and we will use a lookup field. And in the lookup, we will use a control here. Yeah, this one combo box we will use. And in this, we will have a dialog box which says, I want the combo box to get the values from another table or query. So we will use this first option, and then we will go for, here we want to add a course. We want to add a course ID and course name, and it will hide, if we use this, it will hide the course ID and show only the course name. So we will use this and store the value in the books table in the course ID, and we'll do that, and the name the combo box as course name, then we finish it. Okay, so we'll save that, and if we run now, you see we need to have, once we enter the information about the book, we need to have a course name also, right? For example, if we add a books introduction to computers computers, and author name Ralph Kimball, and ISBN 12345, and opening stock, for example, when we will start making an, at this point, how many books, if we have any. If there's zero, then it's zero. Let's say we have already in our stock three books. And retail price, how much we're gonna sell it for? Like, let's say we will sell it for $35. And now we will save it. It says you cannot add or change the record because related record is required in the table. You see that, that's what I was trying to show you. Now since we have not entered a course, we cannot enter it because we do not have any courses. So first of all, we'll enter some courses. For example, we can create a table for a form for courses. So create a new form. Let's say we can make these. Okay, so we can add courses, STATISTICS, statistics, and then we have a course information technology, technology. Let's say we can have a course English, EN, French. Let's say we have another course, databases. Okay. Now we will try to enter, the main reason for doing is now we can enter the books. Let's say we are buying a book, MS A double CE access I tutorial, author John, and course name is, now we can see there are courses available. Let's say information technology, uh, and ISBN, let's say 12345 6, and we can say opening stock, we have 3 books already, and we will sell it for $50, let's say. Now we can, if we go to the next record, you see we have saved the record. If we go to the books table, we have now MS Success John 2 3 like this, right? So that's how we can create more books. Let's say we create another book, learn in 21 days, author Frank, and course name is French, ISBN number 1234567. So these are now this is just the entering, we are entering our in database of the books. It's not purchase or sale, it's just a database of the books. Let's say in the opening stock we have 2 books already, so we'll sell these for $25. Now we can do that, and if we go back to the books tables, we have now learned French and all that. Now we will create another form which will be books transaction. Now we'll create a books transactions, purchases and sales. So we will create new forms, books transactions. We will get all these fields, and that will be a tabular form, because this will have a master transaction on top of that. So there could be many transactions for one one main transaction, master transaction. So we'll make it a tabular. Okay. So see, we have now will now book transaction. We'll create two forms. Rename it. Let's create it. Okay. We'll make a copy and then paste it, and we'll give it a books transactions underscore purchases, and this one will be books transactions underscore sales. Books transactions underscore sales, and let's design that. That will be a transaction ID, this primary key. We'll make it bigger. We'll make it bigger. Let's use. We will use a lookup table here. I want the combo box to get. Okay, so we will use transaction type underscore ID. So that will get the values from the transaction type. This store the value in the transaction underscore type ID here, and we'll give it a transaction name of transaction type. Okay, books transactions purchases. and we'll save that. Basically what we'll do is we'll delete this form and we'll make a copy of that and then paste it, and we'll give it a name: books, transactions, sales. Yes, let's open that. You see, quantity purchased, we'll get a master transaction ID. Okay, sales, quantity sold, basically in the sale price we cannot enter the sale price because that is already defined in the book price, so we will not use that. Let's save it. So the transaction types, in the transaction types table, because there are only two types of transactions, so we can safely define here in purchase and sale. And we close this table because we will not be changing these, so we don't need to create a form for that. Forms are mostly useful for creating some transactions which are recurring transactions. So now if we go to the transactions, we can see we can have sales or purchase, right? And one more thing we need to do is we need to select the books from the books table. So we will use here combo box. We'll delete that and include a combo box. And the combo box will look into the books table and use the book ID and title, and that will store in the book ID table, book ID column of the books transaction. And here will we give it a name, books. Books. And same thing we have to do here. We will add in the sales, but we will add a combo box. Books. Store the value in the books ID column, and here we'll give it a books table. Books. Finish. Books. So we will format that later on, but first of all, we will see the functionalities we are creating here. Whenever we create a transaction, we will use either books. First of all, we need to select a book. Then we have to select whether it's a sales or purchase. If it's a purchases table, then it will be purchases. And then we'll save it. So we will in the next session we will create further new forms like master transaction, purchases, and master transaction sales. So we'll see you in the next session. Thank you for staying so far. Hello viewers, welcome back to our channel. Now in this session, we will work on the master detail forms utilizing book transactions purchases and book transaction sales, which we completed in the last session. So let's begin. So first we will create a master transaction purchases. So create a form wizard. We will use a form wizard, and here we will use master transaction. And in this, we will use all of these fields and we will give it a name, master transaction purchases. Okay, so now we have a master transaction ID, master transaction date, master transaction supplier or customer ID. So we'll go to the design and we will remove that, and here we will use a combo box. And in this combo box we will use we need information about supplier or customer ID. So these are in the business entities, because you remember we explained business entity are these people of interest who either supply or purchase goods. So here we will select all these fields, customer ID and customer name, and then we'll go to next. We just want to see the customer name, but it will store ID into the table, but will show us the customer name. So go to the next, and we want to store the value of supplier ID into the field of master transaction. And in the combo box, we will give a name, business business entity. Okay, and then we will have to figure out if either we are purchasing or selling things. So here again we will use a combo box, and in this combo box we will look for transaction type, in the transaction type, and we want to select these two fields and want to store these in a store the value in the transaction underscore type. So it will store the ID but will show us the transaction type. That is the beauty of the combo box. Okay, so now we will view this form. So we do not have any business entities here. So we will create a form for business entity. This is our person, business entity, contact person, person type. So we will, one thing in this business entity form, we have to define whether is business entity is a supplier or a customer. So we will use another combo box here, and here we will use business entity type, and then we will store the value in the person type or business entity type. Business entity type. And we will save that. So let's enter some business entities in the form. Let's say ABC books, contact person John, and the phone number is 1234567. Let's say 891, and business entity type is we have to define we are the supplier or retail customer. Okay, we'll close this form. ABC books, contact person John, 74545678890. Let's do that, and it's business entity type. For example, it's a supplier, and then we can add person retail customer. We don't need to store the person name, or for example, we can say it's a retail customer. Contact person, we don't need that. We say NA not applicable. Phone, we don't need it, and it's a retail customer. And then, for example, we say XYZ books, Mary, 34523423425, and then it's again a supplier. So we have stored some of these business entities here. Now we can, if we go to the master transaction, let's make these better. let's say on the, you see these are XY and these are purchaser sale. Now we have to, as we mentioned, that when we have a master transaction, in order to create a book transaction, we need to have a master transaction. And and with the help of forms, we can connect these two tables. And once we enter the data in the master transaction, it will automatically updated certain field in the books transactions, and then we will it will save us a lot of time in data entry. So let's do that, and we will uh, design, and in the design we'll put purchases, and in this we will add a books transaction purchases here. And we linked these together by going to the properties field, and you see here link master fields with the link child field. So we will link this one, add this one, and then we'll transaction type, always when you select that one, then we'll use this, and then we need supplier or customer ID. And with the child fields, we need in the same sequence. And the next is transaction date. And the next one is transaction type. And then we will need the last one is okay. Let's see how it works. Let's enter a new record on the January of 20th. Oh, okay. So we cannot add that. We need to have ABC books, you see, and then we need to have. Now we can select book. Its transaction is purchased. We bought two books. Let's say we are purchasing these for. Okay, and this and then. Okay, so viewer, this is now master transaction purchases is complete. In the next session, we will complete the master transaction sales. So we'll see you in the next session. Okay, viewers, welcome back to this session. Now we will work on a master transaction underscore sales. As in the previous session, we created the same transaction, but with the purchases. So let's begin. So we will now, here we will now create a. Okay, so we will basically what we will do is We'll try to copy that, and because it's identical, and we'll give it a name, SALES, sales. We'll give it a name, sales, and here we will remove this one and add a books transactions underscore sales, and we'll do the same thing as before. And here we will link these. So these are basically linked with the master transaction ID and already, but here we will choose master transaction date. The second we will use so we will use a master transaction, and then we will put a comma, and then we will use a transaction underscore type, and then we will use supplier or customer ID. Okay, and the same thing here in the child table, we will use master transaction date, then we will use the transaction underscore type, transaction underscore type underscore ID, and then we will use a supplier or credit. Okay. So we will, with that, I think we have done it. Let's run this and checks test. Let's design these and make these some of the fields we need to make bigger. Viewers, they need a lot of formatting, but the main goal in this here is to uh, to to show you the functionality of these, how this access in general and databases in particular works. You see now, this is a sales table, but here we can select. One thing we can do is we can, one more thing we can, it's a bit advanced, let's do that something. Uh, Transaction type, if we go to the properties, it's a purchases, then we want transaction type to be true because it's a purchases, and we'll save that. Oh, sorry, this is purchases is equal to 1. Remember, we have that, we have to need to know the code. And the same thing with this. So we can go here. The transaction type is 2. Okay, so let's go to the purchases. You see, it will only show the sales now. So viewers, that's how we will do these. So our sales table, yeah. So now it will, you see, it will automatically use the sales. So viewers, these two forms are completed now. In the next session, we will test these, and let's see you in the next session, and we will further complete the reporting part of uh, that application. Okay, viewers, welcome back. Now, in this session, we will continue to our project, and we are almost going to be finishing up this project. And now, so far, we have created forms like books transactions, books business entity, master transactions, master transaction sales, right? So one thing we can do is uh, we can create, let's try to create one master form, create a blank form, and we can just insert the we can form operation, books, open, enter books. So that form will open a books form, enter books, and then we can add another form, another button, form operation, open form, enter entity, now let's add enter business, business entity, enter business entity, and then we can have another form, another button, enter course, enter course, enter books, enter business entity, enter course, enter purchases. Another we can do that. Sales, enter sales, and then we will add another one, form operation, enter sales, enter sales, you see now we can navigate to enter courses, enter purchases, enter sales. So viewers, this let's make it master form, master data. So we'll give it a name, master data, this forms, and here we can enter, first of all, we can enter books if there are no books. We can enter business entity. We can enter purchases. We can enter sales. So viewers, we have almost all of these forms are available. Now the most important thing is now we need to view the data. You see, right now, if we look at the, want to see what happens, if we go to the books transactions, we can't find anything meaningful because all of these are digits. So here comes the uh, queries. So which we will do it in this session. So let's begin with our first query. And in this query, we will use so we will now, this is the time to extend our application to create a queries. So create, in the create window, we'll go to the query design, and here we will use business entity, business transaction type, master transactions, books, and then books transaction. Okay, let's see how we'll work with them. So basically now we will use these queries, and these will give us all the complete details as what data has been entered into the tables, and it will give us a user friendly view of the information we have in our database. So in the first, we need a, so right now we want to know if we want to know the details of transactions happened in our business. So first of all, we will transaction detail ID. Then we need to know the book's title, quantity sold or purchased, purchase price, master transaction ID, transaction type underscore name, opening stock. So opening stock, as we mentioned, we have already have opening stock here. And then we will do one more thing. So we will create another table. Adjust quantity. If transaction type transaction type type if transaction underscore dot name is equal to sales sales, comma books transactions books transaction dot qty underscore sold underscore purchase into -1 means like if it's a sold property means if a sold quantity is equal if it's a sales then the quantity would be minus then comma else else this and then bracket closed. Let's see what we make adjusted quantity is equal to if transaction underscore type okay let's see what it does. It's a inventory. Let's run that. If transaction underscore type dot transaction type equal to sales, comma, books transaction dot quantity underscore. Let's do that now. I think we have some spelling mistakes. Okay. Let's check that. Our view. Okay, that is sale. Viewers, these are very important. Small typo mistakes can happen, but the purpose of this is to show you how these. You see now, if it's a sale, then it's -2. If it's a purchase, then quantity adjusted quantity will be. You see, these are the quantities now. These will be the adjusted quantities. So now, based on that, we will uh, create a report. For example, let's go to the master data and enter some purchases. So in order to enter new blank record, so let's on the 20th of January from XYZ books, we bought learn French purchase, quantity purchase 5, purchase price, let's say $15, and this close it. And let's say we also enter a sale. We'll create a new, the master transaction will, and we sold retail sales. Let's say we sold French, quantity we sold 2. Now if we go to our inventory section, we'll see that we have now learn French was purchased as well as sold. Let's add the date section also. We don't have the date. So from the master transaction we can add a, yeah, that's very important. Master transaction date. Let's do that. Now we have these dates also. Transaction ID, master transaction ID, and these purchases and sales. So now we in the next section, so we created the query, and in the next now we'll create a report also. So let's create a report. We can create a report. We can use a report wizard, and in this wizard we will use the inventory. Let's see why it's giving us expression 12. Oh, okay, let's do that now. Yeah, okay, so we will create a report now. And in this report, we will use a report wizard, and then in the report wizard, we will use a query uh, inventory. So here we will use master transaction date first, and basically we need to know the book's title, adjusted quantity, so basically we use the title. So basically we don't need a purchase price right now because we are using an inventory also, inventory only. So in the title header, we will also use, we can add a opening stock here. You see, we can change these by using this. Okay, so in this, and we can use the title opening stock. Okay, so opening stock, Sale or purchase, and this is opening stock. For example, learn French in 21 days. Learn French in 21 days and MS6 tutorial. Opening stock 2, opening stock 3. Now we will calculate their inventory. And for the inventory, we will so what we will do is plus the total. So we'll that's the last part. Uh, I did text here, and then in the text box we will use let's do that is equal to adjusted stock plus opening stock. Let's run that. Adjusted quantities, not a stock. Let's run that now. Okay, so you see, French, learning French, we have the two. Then we sold two. Our stock becomes 0. Then we purchased 5. That became 7. Let's do that. Okay, one thing we need to do is overgroup, and then we want to hide it. Let's do that now. You see, it's a bit of tricky, but we need, because you know what we are doing is, two we bought, we have opening stock two. When we sold, so then now we have five only, right? Then in the my MSXX tutorial, opening stock was three. Then we purchased one, so we got four. Then we sold two. Then we got two balance. That's how the balance is calculated. And because there is one thing I would like to show you. There is a feature in the reporting, because in the reporting we can use a lot of powerful feature in the reporting, because you know this is the quantity we need to show, right? But this is the quantity which is running total. Let me show you what it does. Properties, uh, because the purpose of this tutorial is not to build a software but to explain the functionalities. So let's say if it's visible, see what happens. You see, these are now 2, 5 minus 2, 2 minus 5 is equal to 3, right? But that's not what we want. We want to add uh, to opening stock plus any purchases and sales, right? So that's how we calculated the formula. In the, we will hide this. Okay. We don't want to show that, because remember in the Excel also we use the same kind of formulas. Here what we are doing is we are running total, and so these 2 plus minus 0, and then it's 5. So that's how we are calculating our inventory. At the end of the day we have let's design, and in the title header we can add another label here, inventory balance. We need a label here, balance, and this is, no, the balance would go in the page. Okay. Okay. So I think that's enough for this inventory. So we have the balance. So balance will be calculated according to these. Let's make it more. Okay, let's do that. Okay, let's create another line, straight line. Okay, so balance. So that's how we will calculate that for every transaction. Let's make another line. So that's how the inventory will be calculated. Balance, learn French, opening stock, this, sales or purchase, that is a sale means minus. So what we can do is we can take it. Okay, let's do that now. So it's a sale first, minus 2, and then how it goes. And at the end of the day, like we have purchases and sales, and let's enter some entries. Let's enter purchase, new transaction. Let's say on the 1st of 20th of January, we can enter from XYZ, transaction type purchase, book. Let's say we purchase 100 quantities and $20 and so on. So let's check our inventory. You see we have now purchases 3. Now we purchase 100, 103, 104, minus to 102, then plus purchase 104. So that's how this inventory system is working. So we are done with our this project, and if you have any questions, please leave comments. And the goal of this project was basically to show you how the relational databases works, how the entity relation like referential integrity works and so on, and how the Microsoft Access, what's the difference between a flat file and the relational database. So with that, we will end our project, and we are hoping that that will enhance the understanding for the people who are not who are new to the relational databases. So maybe in the next in the coming videos, we will also explore some SQL and some other topics. So that's it for today. Thank you and have a great day.